Trade deadline day. Welcome into Saints Now by Chat Sports. We're going to go through all of the candidates and what I do and go through the final trade buzz around the New Orleans Saints. I expect them to be sellers. We don't know if they're going to make any moves, and it's been oddly quiet leading up to the deadline, which will be later this afternoon. Let's get you reminded on what the future draft picks look like and why the New Orleans Saints need to be sellers, because they have way more than 5 needs this year and in next year's draft, and you're going to need to recoup some draft capital and get off of some of these players, clear some money so that way you can look towards the future and stop trying to salvage the now. Now, I do believe that there are a handful of players that are likely not going anywhere. Alvin Kamara, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Taysom Hill. I don't think any of these veterans are going to end up being dealt. However, if any of these 4 were to be traded, Demario Davis might be the name to keep an eye on. I don't think any of these guys are going to be moved. They've all expressed how they love being in New Orleans. But at the end of the day, if you get an offer you can't refuse, you got to make a tough decision. Reminder, we're going live today for the trade deadline about 12 p.m. Central Time, so make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications. We're going to let you guys know anything and everything that happens around the deadline. If the Saints make a move, if another team makes a move, we'll have you covered right here, right now on Saints Now by Chat Sports on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe and turn on your noties. Now let's go through some trade candidates. Starting off with 3 wide receivers. We're going to go offense, and then we're going to go defense. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and Brandin Cooks have all been very heavily rumored in trade buzz. Now, Chris Olave, the reports around him are that they are working on an extension with him, so it seems to be that he is going to be a part of the long-term future in New Orleans. Rashid Shaheed, the belief is that he could be dealt for the right price. The asking price in reports are saying that it's a 3rd-round pick, but that's going to be a tough thing to ask for. Brandin Cooks, he has also been mentioned in some trade buzz, and he could potentially be on the move for, I think it's a 5th time in his career. I mean, that's absolutely wild. Now, some asking prices for these 3 wide receivers, I would like nothing less than a 2nd-round pick. A 1st-round pick would be ideal, but I just don't think you're going to get that. But I will not take anything less than a 2nd. A 3rd-round pick, I'm not going to waver there. I understand that a 4th-round pick is more realistic and more likely. At the end of the day, you could get that back when you traded away for Davon Godchaux. But I want to be greedy, and Rashid Shaheed is my sweet prince. I will be devastated if we trade him, at least make it a little bit of a sweeter deal. Brandin Cooks, we could deal him for a 7th-round pick. You don't have one this year. You can recoup that back, and honestly, it would open up opportunities for Davon Godchaux and Mason Tipton to start getting more snaps and getting more run on game days. Now, getting into some more trade candidates, Cesar Ruiz is another player that I think could be potentially on the move. He has been mentioned in rumors and mentioned in some reports. And I'm not going to sit here and say that he's 100% going to get dealt. I really don't know. I would be shocked if the Saints ended up trading him, but I could see other teams being interested in a guard services, especially a team that's trying to compete for a Super Bowl. If you just need to shore up the offensive line, Cesar Ruiz might be an appealing option. Foster Moreau, he's been mentioned in some trade buzz. Don't think he really is going to be going anywhere. I would have included him in that first graphic, but we honestly don't know. Foster Moreau could be dealt. I think it would be silly to trade him. I think he's a leader, and I think he's somebody that's valuable for the culture and for what Kellen Moore is trying to build in the long term. But you have to answer this question. Are any of these players a part of the long-term plan? Like, if we're trying to make a playoff push in 2-3 years, are these guys on the roster? That's the question you have to ask. Now, I know one name that a lot of y'all want to trade is Juwan Johnson, and I'm going to tell you right now, don't shoot the messenger. You really can't trade him. It's going to be tough to move Johnson. Financially, it will really screw you over. $13.4 million dead cap hit in 2026 if you trade him right now. You do have a potential out in 2027 after 2 years of a $9.4 million dead cap hit. It'll be much easier to move off of him. In the future. And I do know that Juwan Johnson has been wildly inconsistent, but at the end of the day, you can't just trade everyone away because you don't like how they're playing. Now, we're going to get to the defensive side of the football here in just one moment, but first things first, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Chubbies. I absolutely love Chubbies, and they got a whole lot more than shorts. Guys, you got to check out the fall wardrobe and get the new Comfort collection. You can upgrade your fall wardrobe featuring the Everywhere Jogger. It's the perfect pant for impromptu naps, weekend errands, and everything in between. And I know that you need some updates in your fall wardrobe as well. And I always got the hookup, so head over to chubbyshorts.com/chatsports to now get 20% off your order for a limited time. Maddie and I are going to be going on all sorts of fun dates throughout the rest of the holiday season, and we've been on a bunch during the fall, and I've been wearing my everywhere joggers, everywhere. The leaves are turning, the temps are dropping, the weekend air is getting that nice autumn crisp. And fellas, I know you guys are being dragged all over town for all sorts of dates, but that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice comfort. Chubbies is here to make sure you look good and feel great with their soft, stretchy, fall-ready staples built for maximum comfort and minimal effort. Whether you're layering up for tailgates, lounging through lazy Sundays, or just leaning fully into fall comfort, Chubbies has you covered. For limited time, Chubbies is giving listeners to Saints Now by Chat Sports 20% off their order with the code CHATSPORTS. If you go to chubbyshorts.com/chatsports, you can take advantage of the deal. Use code CHATSPORTS, code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports, and you can support the show and show your thighs some respect with Chubbies. Click the link in the comments or description of this video to get started and get new wardrobe today. Now let's talk about the defensive side of the football. A trade candidate that personally I am very okay with moving off of is Pete Werner, the linebacker. I know that Demario Davis is probably the better football player, but Pete Werner, I think, makes more sense to trade, especially considering he has been outperformed by Danny Stutzman in less snaps over the last 4 weeks. If you don't believe me, check out my Twitter. Check out the last couple videos. I broke that whole thing down, and we might have the graphic ready. Yes, we do. Shout out to Loco Lopez. Look at this. This is over the last 4 weeks. Pete Werner has been outperformed by Danny Stutzman despite having significantly more snaps over the last 4 weeks. And I think it's just time to move off of Pete Werner. You decided to invest in him because you believe that he could make the step and make that next big move, but he hasn't. And it's time to move off of him. It's time to open up opportunities for Danny Stutzman. And quite frankly, it's nothing against Pete Werner. I do think he's a fine football player, but he just isn't he isn't cutting it. And I think a linebacker needy team that could really use the services of a veteran that's still young, that's somewhat affordable, I think that Pete Werner would make a lot of sense for teams like the Colts, maybe the 49ers, maybe the Vikings. I don't know. There's a lot of quarterback or linebacker needy teams. But there is one less now because the Cowboys made a trade with the Bengals bright and early this morning. They sent over Logan Wilson in return for a 7th-round pick. So if you do trade Pete Werner, I wouldn't expect a high return. Just going to put that out there considering Logan Wilson, standout linebacker in Cincinnati. He went for a 7th. I do think you could get something respectable, but I wouldn't expect anything outrageous like a day 2 pick or anything like that. Now, a couple more defensive players, Alontae Taylor, Isaac Yiadom, Carl Granderson, Nathan Shepard. All of these guys are players that I believe could be potentially on the move. Cornerback needy teams could definitely use the services of Alontae Taylor considering how versatile he is. He can play in coverage. He can blitz. He's very energetic. He's a spark for a defense. I personally would like to keep Alontae Taylor around, but I can understand why the Saints would decide to trade him. However, he has expressed how he loves being here. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He loves being a part of the locker room, but business is business. Isaac Yiadom, I wouldn't mind trading away. He's healthy now, so you could potentially get your 7th-round pick back for him. Maybe that's a move that you decide to make. Carl Granderson for an edge rusher needy team could be appealing. He has some experience. He's been successful in this league before. And Nathan Shepard, personally, I have not been necessarily overly impressed with him this year. And I think when it comes to the defensive tackle position, opening up more opportunities for some of the younger players makes a lot more sense in my personal opinion. Now, what say you? How many trades do you think the Saints should make? I think it's at least got to be 1 or 2. One definitely. Like if we get out of here with no trades, something went wrong, and that's not good. Just gonna put that out there. I think it needs to at least be 1 or 2. How many do you think, Lopez? 3? You think at least 3 trades? All right, I got 2. Lopez got 3. What about you? All right, some honorable mentions. Some players that have also been considered in some trade stuff. Davon Godchaux, he has been mentioned as a trade candidate by Ian Rappaport earlier this week, and I think that he's a player that could be potentially dealt. You brought him in for a 7th-round pick. It's not like he's been a massive asset to you, but I do think that keeping him around wouldn't be the worst idea. I do think trading him wouldn't be the worst idea, but you're not going to get much in return. Jonathan Bullard could be a name to keep your eyes on for teams that are looking for defensive tackle help. And Trevor Penning, the Saints did not pick up his fifth-year option. He is in the final year of his contract, and New Orleans has to make a decision on whether or not they want to keep him for the future. And it's not like he has been a game-breaking offensive guard. If you want to trade him, try to get something in return because you're going to let him walk anyway. Probably not the worst thing to do. Now, reminder, we will be live here in just a few hours on Saints Now by Chat Sports for the trade deadline. I hope to see you guys there. Turn on your notifications. Subscribe. Doesn't matter if you're at work. Doesn't matter if you're at school. Just pop in your AirPods, turn it down, and we'll be having a good time, and you'll know what's up around the trade deadline. My name's Trizzy Trace Girouard. For my guy, Loco Lopez, we'll see you in a few hours.